Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Have I told you lately how much I love being in a coffee shop?
No, you didn't tell me.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a couple of Wednesdays, but yeah, it's good stuff.
What I think is so funny is when you and I sat at the table almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And we were like, and your first thing was, "What's a podcast?"
Oh, I had no idea.
Oh, it was. I mean, awesome.
I knew people were podcasting, but I had no idea that somebody would invest. Which, by the way, I really appreciate the people who invest their time to listen to two knuckleheads like us.
Oh, it's nuts. And we have no idea what we're
sobriety.
doing.
No.
We are not Joe Rogan. So
but you know what?
Joe Rogan, hang up.
You know what the thing is? The thing is, you know, I had breakfast with Stevie G. He's been on the podcast a couple times with Arcosa. And, you know, I probably could have done 99 other things for that hour. But it's a matter of being connected. You are who you hang with. And when people are listening to a podcast, hopefully they're gaining some strength from that. I gained some strength with Stevie G.
I don't know, man. All I can say is we are a monster in Bangladesh.
No, Singapore's
the new one.
Yes.
We have major blog downloads from Singapore?
We have nothing. We have no idea what's going on in Singapore, but we're big in Singapore
and Nashville.
And Nashville. Oh, great segue!
Yeah,
you know what? You're getting a handle on this whole podcast thing.
Oh, I just think it's funny because you and I are first like, what are we going to talk about? Well,
right.
You tell your story. That's 1 week. I'll tell mine. Hey, we got 12 steps. That's 12 more episodes, and now here we are, almost 300.
Well,
episodes
yeah, because you introduced the concept of a guest.
Oh, yeah,
and we have one this morning.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
good segue, Mike.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you kind of cue it up with Audra. Good morning, Audra.
Good morning.
Yeah, so I will tee this up. So we're out there on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok. I forget our handles, but it's like Sober.Coffee Podcast. Yeah, you can find them. And so I'm just out there bantering, connected with some really awesome people, and I connected with Audra. And you know what? I'm old. My short-term memory, I got a lot going on. You know, I don't remember what I did this morning for coffee hour, right? But, you know, I connected with Audra, and all I felt was like energy and sparkle and you know, sobriety, and she's in music, and she's in Nashville. She's got a lot of great stuff going on, and I'm like, hey, why don't you come on our podcast and play around with us, you know, and just kind of banter with us.
And then I think everybody always wants to know, okay, well, all right, let's meet and let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Let's get some bullet points.
Well, that's Joe Rogan's production team.
None of that happens here. It's like,
so we have no idea what's
going on. It's like, Audra, you want to join us for coffee? Sure. Okay.
All I said,
that's the extent of our planning.
All I said was when we were logging on, because Audrey's joining us in the coffee shop via Zoom, all I said is, here comes Sparkle.
I know. I love it.
And I'm 100% right. So welcome.
I love that.
Welcome.
So why are you sparkling this morning, Audra? What makes you sparkle?
Oh, well, I just feel so blessed to be on your guys' podcast, first and foremost. I'm not typically a morning person, as I know I expressed to you guys, but I was super excited to get up and talk to some of my fellows and people that are also on the same journey that I am, and hopefully spread some, you know, strength and some hope and all that good stuff.
Isn't that wonderful that becomes kind of the drum? That's my drum that I beat. If this podcast triggers hope for one person, success. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. So you could have sang that. You said it, but you could have sang that intro about your experience and hope. But so you're Glenn. Fill me in, because Glenn says you're an artist down in Nashville.
Yes, I am. So I moved to Nashville about 8 or 9 years ago. I started going to Nashville back like when I got off The Voice in 2014. Well, actually, I started going to Nashville maybe 2012, and then I got on The Voice, and that whole journey happened.
Wow.
And then, yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Quite a journey. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. So I've been down in Nashville for about 8-9 years, and I'm originally from Philadelphia area, but I grew up in I grew up in Delco, so Big Eagles fan, all the stuff.
Yeah, so we did connect on that. I'm a Philly boy. 21 years I grew up in Philly, and it was Willow Grove, so I'm just north of Philly. But I still have the accent, even though I lived in Virginia and Pittsburgh and Chicago. I still have that Philly. I'm still learning how to speak English.
Oh, that's funny.
It's so funny. Like, people say to me, they're like, your accent kind of almost sounds like Philly Southern now. And I was like,
That's a combo.
I know. I was like, that's an interesting combo. I may have to get that printed out on some T-shirts or something.
That's
Come
awesome.
up with some kind of...
So when you moved down there, sober or still in your addiction?
I was still drinking. Yeah. I mean, I started drinking when I was like 13.
Yeah.
So, I started at an early age. I was kind of just a rebel early on. I think for me, it was just something to kind of run away from the way I was feeling. And when I moved down here, I mean, I was out networking every night. I was out at writers' rounds every night.
Oh, is that what it's called? Networking.
I call it binge. I call it binge drinking. Right.
Blackout drink.
Wow.
Blackout drinking is called networking. Okay, that's awesome.
I'm cracking up because I'm thinking about it too. It's so funny. I was talking to a friend recently when we were talking about networking, and she was laughing. She goes, "Oh yeah, I remember your networking days."
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
So I was still drinking at the time, and it's been I'm 2 years sober now. So
Hey man, that's fantastic.
yeah, it's crazy.
What
it's crazy.
what made you switch teams?
Well, for me, so 2 years ago, like I would say during COVID 2020 is when I noticed that. Yeah, that's kind of when I noticed that my drinking was starting to get out of hand, essentially. And I mean, we're all in denial in our addiction, and for me, it was like there was just nothing to do. I was so bored. I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll just drink then, and write songs and do whatever. But then once COVID lifted and things started to get busier again, it's like I kind of kept it going for whatever reason. And I kind of noticeably seen it progress over that course of like 3-4 years before I decided, okay, something's up. Like, I need to take a look at this. And, I woke up one day and I said, something's got to change. I can't keep living my life this way. I was, binge drinking. I was drinking before shows, after shows. I was at all these events all the time. And, I've always had a lot of anxiety growing up. I've always had a lot of issues with self-worth and things like that. And so, I think a lot of my heavy drinking came from the anxiety and just like social anxiety and that aspect of being around a bunch of people and, trying to fit in and be yourself amongst the music folks and whatnot. But for me, I always ended up taking it a little bit too far.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, the thought of, the normal person, I had anxiety, self-worth issues, right? But I'm not grabbing a microphone and getting on stage in front of X amount of people. I just buried myself in a corner and drank, But you actually have to, you're in the public eye. And so there's that much additional pressure and anxiety that gets triggered.
Absolutely, for sure. It's, being in the public eye, a lot of times, you just never know who's watching you. You never know who's around. And for me, I guess for the longest time, I just thought, well, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just out here meeting people but for me, I mean, if you're coming home at 2-3 in the morning, when typically if you're out networking, if nowadays, for instance, networking looks a lot different for me.
Right.
It's actual networking.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And if I seem all over the place, it's because I'm extremely ADHD. So I do apologize.
No, you fit right in. You fit right into this group. I'll tell you that.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I know all of us are a little bit ADHD, but yeah. So my level of networking now is like, okay, once that mark of like 10 or 11 o'clock hits, and I start to see people starting to get a little bit
sloppy.
Well, yeah, tipping over that edge a little bit. I'm like, okay, that's my cue to be out. But for me, yeah, I was overextending myself. I was, trying to meet everybody I could when I first moved to town, because that's what you're supposed to do is get out there and meet everybody you can. But sometimes, especially when you're drinking, you're not meeting the right people. Your judgment's off. So you're kind of, you might be meeting people, but you might not be meeting the right people that have your best interests essentially at all times.
So was there a moment? You were at a networking event, or you woke up in the morning where you said, got to get off this train?
So for me, so it's been 2 years. So my sobriety date is September 26, 2024. I'm trying to think I'm sorry, I'm wrong. September 26, 2023. Even my dates are wrong. Yep. So I woke up after a day of, I had been out, I don't know, at gigs or wherever I was at. And I remember I went out the night before. I got really sick. I started, throwing up and just to be honestly, I'm super honest. So, I guess it's the Philly in me, right? But totally. I remember waking up the next day, my hair was a mess. My bathroom looked like a tornado and I had no idea what had happened. Mm-hmm. My car had throw up in it. It was just a mess. I don't know. And, I hate even admitting this, but I think I drove home, which is actually probably the scariest thing thinking back, that I drove home blacked out like that. Right. And I could have killed myself. Most importantly, I could have killed somebody else. Right. Me, that would have been my own fault, my own self-doing. But I look back now and man, I was so desperate in that moment. I was crying and I was like, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep, and I was always so against drinking and driving.
Oh, me too.
For years and years, it was like I could have had probably equity or something or stock in Uber and Lyft. You know what I mean? And, so for me, it was like, that moment happened and I started thinking back to just, for 3 years, I had tried to really kind of cut down on my drinking prior to actually, finally taking that step and going, okay, I got to do something about this. But that was that moment for me that felt like a rock bottom, that I was like, you know what, this is just going to get worse from here. And I don't know if it was my higher power, I don't know who it was speaking to me saying, you got to go to, you got to find a recovery program. You got to do something. It felt like something or someone was speaking to me and it kept coming up. So that's sort of when I started my recovery journey is that following day. I actually started calling around to different rehabs and stuff like that. And at the time I didn't have any medical insurance. So it was like a lot of money out of pocket. So I ended up just kind of researching some other recovery programs and took that route. Wow. Credit to you. Just the pain of the pain just overcame you and you teetered right from that point. It was an access point for you and you went it on your own. You didn't do the rehab. So doing it day by day, a lot of white knuckling. I will say that in the beginning, before I did, find a strong fellowship and a good people around me that really supported me through my sobriety. And it was one of those things where I had to change my circle, right? I had to change everything in my life, people, places, things. And for me, that was really hard in the beginning because you're sort of in that in-between stage of transitioning from old self to new self. And you still have these old friendships and this old life attached to you that you're trying to, hold on to in some capacity. And so, there's a lot of that white knuckling in the beginning. It's a lot of that trying to hold on to old and trying to also, figure out what you're doing and how to get to a better place, but I think once I allowed the program to work for me as essentially, when I started actually working a recovery program and doing a 12-step program is when I noticeably noticed that I was not as much white knuckling anymore, opposed to more so relying on my higher power and, just my fellows and my friends also in recovery who, had been through similar things, and we just lean on each other. And that's honestly been the biggest blessing for me. I mean, it's, for me, I think it's definitely saved my life in a lot of ways.
So as far as the 12-step program, have you worked all 12 steps?
I have. Yes, I have.
And which ones do you have any special step 9 stories that really stand out?
I'm trying to think. Let's see.
Certainly put you on the spot there, and you don't need to give names or anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just clicked off of here for whatever reason. I was trying to find something.
No, the 12. Well, let me pose a different question. Some people say AA doesn't work. What do you think about that? Especially on social media.
What? I'm sorry. What was that?
Especially on social media, there's people out there that just really bash AA.
I of course we're supposed to be anonymous, right? So for me, I try to, I try to be careful in the sense of talking about the program. Mm-hmm. But as far as, AA is concerned, I think that's for somebody to decide on their own, right? Because for me, I tried to wait, I tried to quit drinking for 3 years without a program. I mean, I was saying to myself, I got this. I'll just quit. I'll just figure it out.
That's my favorite line. I've got this.
I know, right? Isn't it the funniest? So I'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to give this a break. And, and to be honest, I would say to myself, well, maybe I'll try this, and maybe I'll try beer. Just beer. Mm-hmm.
I don't even like beer. Right. I'll try that though. Guess what? It turns out I like beer.
Amen, man. I get it.
So I have a question for you. You're here to inspire, right? We're all here to inspire somebody who's listening, who's maybe struggling right now, early in sobriety, or even down the road a little bit, and they just want to stay connected and be inspired. Do you find it, because I do, I was inspired by others, and you're a musician. Do you find it inspiring, and I won't name their names because it's their story, but if you read deep into articles and read about certain people, whether they be entertainers or whatever, that are work in solid recovery and talking about the joys of life on the sober path, did you find a lot of strength, I guess is my question. Did you find a lot of strength from that? Because I'm sure the people that are in your field that have strong recovery. And were you inspired by them? And do you look to inspire the next generation of musicians the same way you were inspired?
Oh, I love that question. That's amazing. Yeah, that actually brings me to think about people like Jelly Roll, who, right. Oh gosh, I mean, so I remember going to his concert about 2.5, 3 years ago, maybe I would say a couple months before I decided to get sober. And man, his message and just his purpose, and you could just tell that he really cares about people, and that he really does want to see people succeed. And for me, he inspired me so much through my sobriety journey, and he still does, to this day. I share a lot of his stuff. I'm always following his videos and his inspirational stuff. And then of course, there's tons of artists out there that are on the same journey that I'm on, and I follow a lot of their stories, and I try to see what did they do, and it also gives me hope that I can be out there as an artist and as a public figure and being myself and spreading awareness to this disease, and hopefully I'm able to help people get through that time in their life, through my songwriting and through my music, because that's what Jelly Roll's done for me. His music has inspired me so much to dig deeper into my songwriting, because I know that my voice and my purpose is to write songs that can hopefully help people somehow, some way or another, whether that's to bring them joy or to, sort of have songs that are an anthem for them. And that's kind of how I've felt like with Jelly Roll and people like that. So I would say that one of my biggest heroes right now would be Jelly Roll for sure.
Man, I can totally relate to that. Do you know, have you heard of Blue October?
Yeah, I feel like I have heard of that
Justin Furstenfeld. I stutter, but I think I said it right.
You got it right.
He's got amazing. He's 13 years sober, and it's funny because just like we say, our alcoholism is it takes you progressively to alcoholic hell. It gets worse every day, every week, and so does recovery. Right, it gets better every day, better every week, every month, and it's really important for early people to understand that. It's not an elevator, it's slow stairs. And if you listen to his songs, so I listen to him like you listen to Jelly Roll, right? And their songs, when they were in their addictions, right? Their words, their lyrics are like cockroaches run around my head, right? And then they sing about, hey, I'm sober now and a few friends show me how, meaning people in AA, right?
Right.
And then one of their most recent songs is called "The Better Man," and it's just a
progression.
Yeah, it's it's a song of hope and recovery and man, here's who I am today versus back. And so I love the association to Jelly Roll. And so let's go to your music a little bit. So you're a songwriter, right? Do you perform? Do you go on tour?
Yes, I've been on tours. When I got off The Voice, actually even before The Voice, when I was 13 or 14, I was in a rock band, actually, like an original rock band out of Philadelphia. It was called The Fallen, and we sort of toured the East Coast for a little while. My agent at the time was telling people I was like 18 to just get in these clubs to play.
How old were you?
I was like 14 or 15.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's a great story.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember they used to put an X on my hand, not to drink, and even back then I'm like thinking to myself, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, so it's just, man, I totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, we were just talking about touring.
Touring.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So for me, so I did a lot of touring back when I was, 14, 15 and, through those years with that rock band, and then that sort of slowed down. We weren't really, making money, but we were having a great time. I was getting great, I was having a great time, trying to get stage experience and learning how to be a performer and, learning how to do all those things and get out of my comfort zone a little bit. And, and then after that, I was kind of in a country rock band, and then that didn't last long. Then I remember joining a cover band. I was also in school at the same time because I was kind of still unsure, what I was going to do with my financial future and all that kind of thing, and how I was going to do it with the music, but had to have the backup plan for mom and, and all that good stuff, So, I did quite a bit of touring back in those times. And then when I got off The Voice, I did even more. I was opening for a bunch of people, at the TLA and just kind of random festivals and fairs. And, I did, what was the festival that I did one year in Wildwood? It was like the Barefoot Country Music Festival. Yeah, so I've done a lot of the touring through the years, and honestly, so the last 2 years I haven't done much touring, only because I had to ultimately put my sobriety at first. I had to put my sobriety first when I first got sober. And for me, what that looked like was I had to be in a routine of some sorts. I had to get spiritually fit. I had to start working these steps. I had to start changing my life and being able to utilize the tools that I've been given to be able to use in my everyday life. So for me, I've spent the last 2 years, mostly in Nashville. Yes, I do like one-offs and things like that. And, and then I'll go home, and do shows back in Philly and whatnot during the holidays. But for me, I've been writing a lot. I've been working on my record. I'm hoping that, I'm going to be having a lot of good music coming out this year that talks about, sobriety, that talks about, strength and all of that good stuff. So yeah,
tell me about that. When is the album due out?
Well, so what we'll probably end up doing is releasing a single at a time, and then it will sort of lead up to an EP and then eventually an album. So, in today's music world, it's like if you just drop an album, it's like you might as well just throwing it to the dust. You got to do all these promotional things behind it, and a lot of times it's better to take one song at a time to sort of, because then nowadays we don't only just release music, we have to record content around those songs.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Mikey, it's not like the Led Zeppelin days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh my God, you just brought up my favorite freaking band. I have a Led Zeppelin tattoo on my neck. I started off as a rocker. Yeah.
Rocker turned what? Country rock or?
So I started off in music like as a rock singer. Like my first band was a rock band, and I primarily always wrote a lot of like alternative rock stuff until I sort of morphed to country and rock, and then of course my soul roots from being from Philly, so there's a lot of soul in a lot of soul and rock and roll and country.
She just kind of cocked her head like a little bit back, left and right. She got a little spunky there. Did you see that?
She's got it.
Well, spunky, yeah. I'm Italian, so I move my hands.
That's great. I go see, just as a side, I go see Bonham the Son, just on his tribute stuff, and I've seen him like 5 times. It's just fun it's my little connection back to the Zeppelin days,
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is so cool. I would have literally pushed a button to just go back in time to go see Zeppelin in concert. That would have been so cool.
Yeah, it was special. So so here's what and we got to have you back, okay? But here's what I'm seeing. We can't get to Jelly Roll, right? So Jelly Roll inspired you. Jelly Roll didn't reach out and say, "Hey, I hear you guys got a great sobriety podcast. How about maybe you got time for me?" That hasn't happened yet. But we have you, which to me, you were so inspiring today. Your energy level, your commitment. My takeaway is, especially for anybody who's listening who's kind of new to the program, anybody who's thinking about coming into recovery, whatever path they choose, whatever recovery path they choose, is focus on yourself. I had the gift of being able to focus on myself for a couple of years. That was so important. And that was what I heard you say. You could be out there right now, but you needed that stability and you needed to focus on your recovery.
Build the foundation.
You build that foundation. Yes. Glenn talks about it all the time. I think you are inspiring to a generation that can't get to Jelly Roll. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that. That means the world because, I've often wondered through the years, what is my purpose here? Because I was always living my life on self-will, right? I knew what God was. I grew up Irish Catholic. I grew up going to church, but I didn't really feel a deep connection to God and to my higher power, honestly, until I did start doing the 12-step program, to be honest. I mean, it was like, I feel closer to God now than I ever have. And I try to be careful with saying God, because I know that people like to, make up their own higher power and all that. I mean, I choose to call mine God, but right. Of course, as we say, just so if anybody's listening, because it is a spiritual program, when people do come in, there's a lot of God talk, but I always encourage them to not let that talk discourage them from the program, because when I tell you it's the best program in the world, it really is. And if you stick around long enough, you find some really good friendships and you rely on each other. I mean, you do God's work through each other, essentially. I mean, that's by sponsoring, that's by service work, reaching out, calling somebody, whatever it is. It's just a beautiful thing. It really is. So I I'm just blessed that I'm on this journey now and talking with y'all. So
man, that's awesome.
Will you come back next week and talk more service?
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
awesome.
I'll come back and talk to you guys anytime. I enjoy it.
So inspiring, Audra. See you next week.
All right, Audra. Thanks.
See you next week.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.
Stay safe in the city of Chicago.